let's pick your brain a little bit. I want to know how Meg got into coffee, the start, like the cup that got you into it, and how you just continued to roll the ball through each little facet of the coffee industry.
Okay. I think, thank you, by the way. We definitely evolved to that in terms of being individualistic. I think personally, I'm still sort of a purist and a traditionalist, but I kind of hold those cards close to my chest. But now it's more like I take the responsibility of making content, which is funny to say because my audience is so very, very small. It still doesn't discount that everybody is, on their own path, so to speak. So I don't like to place that judgment. But I think what got me into, there's a couple of firsts. So the first time I experienced specialty coffee was actually my sister introduced me to that blueberry coffee, blueberry tasting coffee, some Ethiopian or something.
Okay.
Back then, this was maybe, I don't know, 2012, I don't know, something like that. And then it was like in a sampler, and I was sort of like off-put by it, almost insulted by it.
Right.
Back in the day, and I was doing my typical nostalgia coffee, drinking it black, but didn't have any knowledge on the topic. And I'm not a cafe goer. I'm still not a big cafe goer.
Okay.
So my exposure to like specialty coffee and what people are actually like serving in a cafe on the regular is still, just like, that's over there. That's what they do. Cool. I get it. I know about it, but that's over there. So on my own terms, it was just like, that's light and that's weird. That's blueberry. Why blueberries? Why am I getting all these things? And then I just kept drinking it because I don't waste coffee.
For sure. Yeah. I'm in the same boat.
Exactly. So by the end of this little sampler, I like couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, actually like it. And then I was like, almost like I had to like be all secretive to myself. I was so weird about it. I was like, why do I like it? And then that just started me down a little path very slowly until fast forward to like maybe 4 years ago now.
Okay.
And I was buying coffee from the highest end quality cafes that I could find in my area, which is not anything crazy or special. So that at this time, it's your Intelligentsias, your Portolas, things like that in my area. So I'm getting coffee like that from these cafes, and they're like $20, $25 a pop. And then so my husband's like, maybe you can roast your own to like save money.
Right. Yeah. I think that's like, almost why we all get into that too. It's so being able to roast your own coffee, it does save a ton of money.
But does it? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I agree.
So when you go down the rabbit hole, for sure, I was like, well, I don't want to roast my own unless I can like do it the right way. So that's the kind of idea I had in my brain. And so I found the hot top, the 2K plus model, so that you could monitor your roasts on the artisan and stuff. Because after diving deep into like home roasting and stuff, it was like there's not a lot of information out there. It's pretty niche. But that seemed like the one is like almost mimicking what the big boys do, right? So I was like, maybe I do that. And we were also at the time sort of looking for greener pastures in terms of like a career, possibly.
Right.
So like, what if you have a cafe and a roast, you sell your own coffee, and like when we get old, we could do that. We're always looking for some exit.
Right.
Always on the verge of burnout in our business right now. So we're like trying to always look for grasses that are greener. And I was like, I don't know, maybe, because I'm in love with coffee. Coffee's my thing. It's like part of my identity. And so to mess with it in that way, where it's like reaching for this like fantasy of a cafe and owning your own cafe and roasting your own coffee, it's such a fantasy. But that's kind of what pulled me in. So that was the beginning. And then I just started roasting, and I was so dumbfounded by the information that was available. A lot of it was like, oh, program 3, P3, and like this roast takes 20 minutes. And I was like, but that doesn't match what I'm reading. So now I have to go find out what the hell to do if I want to roast something light for myself, right? And then I remember the first video I made about specifically the hot top, and I was like, oh my god, I'm finding out all this crap. Like, I need to put it in a video so I can just therapize myself, for one thing, because that was a lot. And then that was kind of like the first of, I guess, the first iteration of like vlogging, my documenting what I'm going through as a home roaster, as somebody
Right.
who's new. And then I later outgrew that roaster, and I wish I kept it, but I didn't. I sold it because I was like, I'm going to need every dollar I need to get this Mill City roaster that I really want.
Right.
Which
Right.
was like $8,000 at the time. But we were, at that time, we were like, are we going to go into business? Like, let's give it a little bit of more fair shake. It wasn't a true like try, but we were
Right.
going in that direction mentally. And so I was like, yeah, let me just try with this 1 kg model and still do it from home and stuff. And then like, let's just see, you know? So I was selling on Etsy. I stopped selling on it. Is it Etsy? Yeah, Etsy. And I was like, let's try to make a brand or something, like, you know, and I'm still doing this on the side. And later on, I found out I didn't really want to do that while I was still doing my first job. So there's no way that I could split my focus between what we do in our wedding photography company and then do coffee. And I began to later learn, as I talked to other roasters and just do my due diligence. I was like, you know what, this is a little more than I can chew off right now.
Right.
And it was hard to like say that and be honest about it. But I think we're more in love with the fantasy and the idea of coffee and a cafe and all this stuff.
Right.
But really not ready to dive into the business of coffee. It's totally different, which I always have to kind of like wrestle myself down, because the fantasy of coffee and all that stuff is really strong. And I do have a love for it.